Tales from the Griblock Galaxy. King's Wrath. The end of the war had come. For good or ill, it would be settled here amidst the shattered pieces of what used to be the world of Libras. Skell, the Mortis Imperator, the Death King, had brought a gigantic fleet. 100 battle cruisers, 400 destroyers, and countless frigates to match the equal might of the Leindeinor Empire. The Mortis Imperator hoped that King Marshal was in one of those ships, as was agreed upon. He led from the Griblock Imperator, his flagship, the first of the newly made Impericide-class battlecruisers. 13 of them had been finished in time for this battle, but it would be enough. It was bristling with weaponry, mainly ionic, to strip shields, and had a large fighter wing. The Impericide was not made to destroy the enemy vessels, but to strip them of the shields and drown the crew in a horde of the undead, before resurrecting them to join the forces of the Kingdom of Skell. The Mortis Imperator looked out the command tower's large semicircular viewport as Dominus Praefectus Furodius joined him.
Incoming transmission from the Illustrious, Your Highness.
So the king had come. Good.
Put it through. Immediately.
A large image of King Marshal appeared. He was dressed in a deep crimson robe which was trimmed with fur, and underneath it was a finely made golden vest. On his side he wore a cutlass with a gem-encrusted hilt, and Skell wondered if he knew how to use it. Stuck to his face was a curled mustache and a goatee neatly trimmed to a point, and atop his head was a gaudy crown. Skell thought he looked ridiculous.
"Ah, you actually showed up," King Marshal said to his fellow monarch. "My advisors nearly had me convinced you were up to some sort of chicanery with this offer,"
the king said as he twirled his ridiculous mustache.
"Perhaps you really are people of honor, as you'd so like to advertise when trying to recruit my subjects. Perhaps you could end this war without losing half our fleets and talk this out like gentlemen."
Skell glared at the ludicrous, rotund man through his helmet's visor.
"I'm not here to talk. I'm not here to turn your pathetic soldiers to my side,"
Skell said, his voice ice.
"I'm here to eviscerate your fleet. I'm here to watch you beg for mercy as I rip out your soul. Your empire killed my son, and for that, Leindeinor will be reduced to slag. Your people will suffer, and your soul will be forced to watch."
King Marshal stared at the Death King for a moment, before chuckling.
"Give it your all, I say."
Skell did not turn from the screen as he addressed Praefectus Furodius.
"Cut the transmission. We're going through the belt," he said firmly. "Those asteroids will be problematic, especially for our battlecruisers," Furodius said as he looked at a tactical display. "We're going through," he repeated.
The Praefectus gave the order to the bridge crew, and the fleet started moving towards the asteroid field. From the left side window of the Griblock Imperator's semicircular bridge tower, Skell could see his fleet pelted by rocks. An unfortunate escort frigate lost its bridge and promptly crashed into an asteroid, and a heavy cruiser shared its fate. He felt his dreadnought shake from the impacts, and he could see alerts from hull breaches on a large screen, where he had talked to King Marshal. But Skell did not stop. He forced the fleet through.
"What are they doing?"
thought King Marshal out loud as he looked at the Kingdom of Skell's fleet. He had counted 13 ships destroyed so far, and he wasn't sure he had spotted all of them. Not to mention that most of the enemy fleet was now in some way damaged.
"Is that what we have been struggling so much against, Admiral? Tusk, tusk,"
said the king to Lord High Admiral Hawkins. The greying, clean-shaven man in the blue and golden uniform turned to his king. "This brazen tactic would not be unexpected from High Lord Orion or someone from his council of imbeciles, but I expected more from the Death King. This will be easier than I expected." The king was quite pleased by this turn of events.
"Do what you will, Admiral. I am going to savour this moment." He raised his voice. "Servants, prepare my dinner."
Admiral Hawkins pulled out his radio. "This is Lord High Admiral Hawkins to Gold Command. Target the asteroids and fire at will." King Marshal sat down at the newly placed table in the middle of the bridge and watched the enemy vessels be blown apart by the shattering asteroids.
"Bravo, Admiral, bravo. Wonderful show. I believe this calls for some champagne."
"That'll be quite unnecessary."
"Fetch me another glass,"
the king said to a servant, who had just placed an entire turkey on the table.
"The Admiral is quite parched."
The Griblock Imperator lurched as another splintered asteroid hit with force. Another piece flung directly towards the tower. Right before it hit the tower, a large ghostly green hand appeared from nothing and threw it aside. Skell was determined to make it through the asteroid field, no matter what tricks the enemy commander had up their sleeve.
"We have come close enough. Open fire. I want the ships turned into burning husks. Spare only the flagship. I will deal with the Illustrious myself."
The Admiral relayed the Death King's orders, and soon after the battered remnants of the fleet did as they were commanded.
I trust you to command the fleet, Dominus Praefectus,
Skeletor said before turning towards the bridge door.
I will decapitate the Leindeinor Empire.
The elevator opened to reveal the illustrious bridge, and in its center sat Skeletor's target, King Marshall, dining on a turkey. Skeletor gave a signal, and the troops he brought with him opened fire on the helpless bridge crew. At the end, the frightened king was the only one left alive on the bridge. With a small motion from the Death King's hand, the dining table and everything on it went flying towards the side of the bridge with a loud crash.
Well, so surrender is off the table?
He said as he drew his cutlass.
If this is to be my end, I shall make it one to remember.
The Death King drew his own blade, an ornate longsword with a golden curved crossguard, yet not as gaudy as the King of Lendainor's cutlass.
Good. I was hoping for this.
Marshall raised his blade and charged at Skeletor with a roar. The cutlass went down towards Skeletor's helmet, but the strike was blocked with ease. The Death King hooked his longsword in the cutlass's hilt and yanked, sending it flying out of King Marshall's hand. Then he swiped his blade at his legs. King Marshall fell to the ground. The Death King looked down at him.
You disappoint me.
Spectral hands grabbed Marshall's feet and dragged him across the broken glass so it used to be his and the Lord High Admiral's champagne glasses. Skeletor turned to face his troops.
Behold, the king of the largest empire in the galaxy.
The spectral hands dragged him further, his clothes now ruined by splinters, sauce, and bits of turkey as the undead soldiers laughed at him.
Is this the glorious end you envisioned?
No, it was not. This was nothing like how he had imagined himself dying. He began to tear up, from the pain in his leg, from the knowledge that he was about to die, from the humiliation. The spectral hands changed their grip, hooking themselves beneath his arms, and dragged him up to meet the Death King's horrible, glowing green eyes, piercing him from behind the helmet's visor.
You're pathetic.
The king felt a sharp pain across his cheek, and he stumbled back down to the floor.
If you're going to kill me, do it now, please,
he begged.
You are undeserving of the freedom of death.
As he finished, he raised his hand again and twisted it. Marshall felt a pain as he had never felt before. His leg, his cheek. It was nothing compared to the agony he felt at this moment. His vision turned blurry, but as the pain cleared, he saw himself on the floor. Not from the perspective he was used to, but from outside. He felt as if he could float, but he was stuck. There was something containing him. He heard a muffled voice, the voice of the Death King. It was not in a language he knew, yet he understood it.
The Canis Errant. Take his body to the flagship.
He turned towards Marshall's new form.
His soul is mine.